Hello and welcome to LinkedIn Live with Garth Sharif. We just had a LinkedIn Live just a few seconds ago, but we're working out some of the technical challenges of being on the road and doing LinkedIn Live. I don't always do this, but we're here in lovely Vancouver for Websummit 2025, a huge tech conference, a lot of different areas of focus, but the big one that we're interested in for our new podcast, the CPA Intelligence and Ethics Show, is artificial intelligence. Really, today is day one. We were here yesterday as media. This is my media badge. I don't know if Leonard is capturing this, but thanks to Leonard for being here. He's helping me produce video content, interviews that we're going to have for the podcast, for courses. And it's been amazing. The first day was already pretty spectacular. It's a great energy. I have mixed feelings in terms of what AI is doing for the profession in the world that I work in with CPAs and the knowledge economy. And it was interesting the way the very first keynote session started. We had the mayor of Vancouver, the organizers of Websummit kick us off. And then we had Dr. Gary Marcus, professor emeritus at NYU, who went to MIT, neuroscientist, programmer, is quite well known in the AI space as a speaker, but also potentially, and this is the way the interviewer framed him, as an AI skeptic. And it was interesting in an AI summit where there are VC partners and there are startups looking for money, that they started the conference off with someone who has grave reservations specifically about large language models, which are the generative AI fuel that we are seeing with a Claude, Gronk, ChatGPT. And what he feels is a direction that needs to move in another direction or slow down. And it was an interesting keynote. It was, I think, to me, a bit negative on the momentum that's happened with generative AI solutions. And for me, I took away some things. I'm not as skeptical as Dr. Gary Marcus. He was, I think, full on skeptical. I don't think he said too much positive things around generative AI and even the slowdown in development. But the parts that I thought were really interesting, quotes that he had that I remember, and Leonard remembers, he's filming this. Autocorrect on steroids is one thing he said about generative AI, that it really doesn't have that reasoning ability. And that large language models, the idea of big data coming in, the more data you have, the better they will get, the closer we get to AGI, is a fallacy. He didn't think that was true at all. And he had another, what was the other one, Leonard? Can you just remind me? The prompt and pray. Prompt and pray was another, something he said, like the prompts that you are giving and how you get an answer on Monday versus the same prompt given on Tuesday or Wednesday might be different. And he was still a believer that there's an AI alignment issue. We've talked about this on LinkedIn Live and courses that I deliver, that when you prompt AI, whether it be ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it might be, what you receive and what the AI is processing as your prompt is two different things. And it might be misleading, might be false, might be hallucinating. And he's still big on that track, and he doesn't trust these large language models at all. He, in fact, likes the old school way of looking at programming. He actually thought the way in which we have built up mapping and GPS and Google Maps, which is parameters around how information comes in and what it can do with that information, is the models combined with large language models. He feels large language models sort of have run rampant, and they're diminishing returns and also not trustworthy, not necessarily having a high amount of veracity, as they say, in big data. I was interested in the fact that this kicked off the conference, and he was quite negative about where this is going and how venture capitalists might actually have an incentive to keep this AI bubble, and he did refer to it as a bubble, going. I have a different take. I think it does depend on how you're using these tools, and that's where, for me, the professional space, CPAs, lawyers, that's why I'm here for the CPA Intelligence Show. I think the alignment problem, I think hallucinations, definitely something we have to consider when you're in the knowledge economy and you're trust a CPA, a lawyer, or engineer for their advice, wisdom, experience. What do you hand off? What do you delegate to artificial intelligence? But to me, it's not zero at this point. There are things you definitely can, but knowing that there's still an alignment issue and there's hallucinations, and even with these reasoning models from OpenAI, there can still be concern around how solid that response is. There needs to be care. There needs to be due care, professional skepticism, things that are part of the knowledge economy. But I do believe we're in a place where we have to think about how we use these tools, and that's a very specific way. And that's what one thing Dr. Gary Marcus couldn't do is a fireside chat. It was 1,000 people, an amazing stage. We couldn't really get into like what is a good use of generative AI and some of the tools that are developing and what maybe isn't something you should trust or use it for. And I think there is a space for that. And that's the conversation we're going to have with many individuals here. That's really the point of the CPA Intelligence and Ethics Show, is to investigate what's the upside for professionals and such as CPAs in using tools and what the tools can do for your business and how it can help, but also what's the downside risk, where you don't want to trust or where you want to be skeptical, where you want to have some caution. And so that was an interesting kickoff. I think that was, to be honest with you, for what I'm doing here, that was what I wanted to get into. Where is the space that we are in right now as we have in this place, I think 1,000 people, 100 different countries represented, a ton of startups, some major names that are here. And what are we doing now as we are moving quickly on this AI exponential curve, maybe towards AGI, maybe towards something that is hopefully helpful, but again, for the knowledge economy workers, such as myself in the CPA space and other lawyers, engineers, and others in the knowledge economy, what does this mean? And that's what we're going to be investigating with interviews with those thought leaders in the space, and also just understanding what the startup space is here. What are people thinking? The young programmers, the young individuals using these large language models, what are they doing as they think this is a great idea to see if I can get some capital for? Where is that space? Is it more physical AI, visual field? Biggest example, self-driving cars, but there are other examples of seeing physical AI, or is it, again, software? Is it productivity? Is it data flow? Is it marketing? Is it education? Is it creativity? I actually think we're seeing a lot on that end. So I'm really excited to be here. And we'll do a LinkedIn Live each day, summarize our day at the beginning of the day, on the next day. So our first day really was yesterday with Dr. Gary Marcus, setting the stage, really interesting vibe from it. And we'll be doing our work and we'll be releasing content on LinkedIn and through my website and also through the podcast as we start to get interviews and go into production. Again, really excited. Haven't been to Vancouver in a long time. Really pretty mountains, fresh air. Don't always get that where I'm from, a lot of more pollution, I'd say, but excited to be here. So we'll stay in touch. We'll do more LinkedIn Live for this week. You might see too much of me. You can always watch the recording, but we're going to be updating here from #Websummit Vancouver, and excited to be here. And we'll see what we're going to do with this information and how it can help those in the professional space understand what's happening. Thanks, everyone.